Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. Okay, good evening, viewers. How are we? Hang on, we just forgot to put signage up. Okay. All right, so where are we, guys? We are no Rumble again tonight, but we've actually got Twitter back. So I don't know what's going on out there in the stratosphere, guys, but we are having trouble getting out to some channels. But anyway, move over to Matilda TV. Not that if you're not on here, you're not going to hear that. But anyway, Matilda TV, guys, let's congregate there, right? Aussie platform, Aussie made for Aussie people. All right, let's try and unite this country. So how's Albo the embarrassment today? Went pretty well, didn't it? He's an absolute clown. He's made a fool of himself once again, but I suppose what else did we expect? Now we got Virginia Dufresne's book dropping. We got Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson in all sorts of trouble. So again, good exposure coming out, guys. We got calls to sack Rudd. Well, how about we just sacked a lot of them, because they're all a bunch of snakes, right? The whole lot of them. I know, as we're seeing, guys, all right? And as I said, we do have a video. When the producer's going to break it, I don't know, but and that is, as I said, I'm not real impressed, okay, because character is everything, guys, all right, and you know it. And it's just, we're not finding much of it out there. Where are we finding it? In you good people. No problem at all. Plenty of character. But unfortunately, it's just not character in the places where we need it, guys. It's going to make a difference for us, okay? But anyway, we're working on that. Okay, so make my day. More Aussie sunscreens recalled on SPF fears. Well, it's not the SPF fears. It's the actual, you might say that, guys, but we know what it is. And I'm just happy to see him getting taken off the shelf, guys. All right, I really am. God gave us sunlight for a reason. Okay, government unveils a national plan to recruit workers for any transition. And what they're talking about here, guys, is all this stuff in the oceans on our east coast here. They are going full bore ahead. Okay, they don't care. They don't care what we've said. We already know that the Labor Party down here in Wollongong and Bowen are, inventing, or whatever you would like to call it. You know what I mean? The next part of this bullshit 400,000 extra jobs in the clean energy sector by 2030. Are you kidding me? In a sector that's going to fail. Under the plans, ministers have identified 31 priority occupations, and they'll probably bring them in from overseas, guys, plumbers, electricians, and welders. And guys, we shouldn't be working for this. I know there's big money out there, but again, this is where you need to draw your line in the sand, okay? And don't work for these guys, all right? And they are paying big money. But this is the dilemma we're in, guys, all right? The line in the sand needs to be drawn. Why? And then we'll get into the Caz and the news, guys, because the Commonwealth Bank is telling submissions as detailed reveals for Australia's cash mandate non-existent. Now, what they're saying, guys, is they're watching the decline of cash. And when it gets to a certain, you know, like transaction rate, what they're going to say is, oh, well, look, you guys have just showed us that you don't care about cash, so now we're going to get rid of it. And this is what they're waiting for. They're just waiting to hit a figure, okay? And then they, like these Luciferians believe, they've told us, all right? So now, guess what? They can do it. So that's, you know, that's the Commonwealth Bank, guys. We know that all big four of them, they all work together and do their own shit, you know, but they all do it in conjunction with the New World Order. So they are just waiting for you to stop using your cash. So do not, guys, all right? Get it out. Use it. Go to the bank. Pull it out each week, all right? Because, man, it's getting tough out there, guys, the way these guys are coming at us, all right? And they're just looking for the smallest things. Bang, bang, bang. Here we go. Westpac Commonwealth. Oh, I could read that bank.
Thousands of ATMs across Australia.
Closing thousands of ATMs. Yeah, well, you don't need ATMs if you're not going to let people have cash. So everything's, you know, it's all pointing to the one direction, and we know it, guys, all right? It's out there. We've known the game plan for a long time. So, yeah, Victoria, we all need to start loving the cash again and start using it, guys, all right? And, you know, Mel and I were just talking about it. You know, all the kids and that, you see Mel's been in Sydney today, and everybody is just banging phones, you know what I mean, with their wallet. It's scary. It is really, really scary. But this is what we're up against, guys. As I said to you before, it was never going to be an easy battle, all right? The war's already been won, but some of these battles are very fatiguing, right, and very frustrating, and are going to go on for a little while. So, you know, I'm asking all of you, all right, draw your line in the sand. Have a chat to the good Lord, get your line drawn and stand there, guys. It is now the time to stand. Okay, Caz, let's go.
All right, we've got heaps of news. First of all, shout out to Billola, I think it's pronounced. That is so country. And thank you to the person who sent it to me. So this was their March for Australia. Here they are on horseback. They did it at very early in the morning because it gets too hot where they are. And they had to go under the shade tree there. So well done, guys. That's so
that
Aussie.
means the word's getting out in remote places, Caz. That's really good, isn't it? That's it is.
No, it's fantastic, and like seeing them there. They actually this show goes out onto the Billola community page. So I have to give them a shout out there. So and thank you to the person who made me aware of it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks, that's what we want to know, right? We want to know because that gives us all confidence that, you know, we're actually reaching people. And more than that, however they're being reached, remote areas are being reached, okay? Now, most of these places have only got the ABC and SBS, guys. So to be reaching them and having them on that sort of thing, I think is a very, very positive thing. I think it's great.
No, it's awesome. And something else that's really awesome as well. Now, our biggest show was actually Friday night. I don't want to say the numbers on here because then they'll shut us down because they just don't like us that much. But we went out to a significant amount of people with John Adams from Adams Economics. Now, he has actually posted this. He said, breaking, you're ready to be shocked. A member of the public has come forward this morning claiming they know the precise identity of the pedophiles on the 1975 ABC late line recording. Keep a close eye on Parliament for this week. So that is actually fascinating.
Good on you, Mr. Adams. Well done, mate. Brilliant. This is what we need, guys, the lifting of the veil. This is where it all happens, all right? And we've got to do it, all right? Because they ain't going to do it for you. People like John Adams and others, all right, are, really doing their thing. Caz is the same, mate. Like a lot of you people, you're out there putting in your freedom of informations. I'm trying to stay away from this Wi-Fi again at the moment, guys. So if I'm a bit short on really what's going on out there, it's because all day I'm just not on Wi-Fi, all right? I'm jumping on TikTok to do a couple of things on my phone. But definitely no Wi-Fi on this boat again until this showtime comes up, and I've got to jump on it, guys. So yeah.
All right. Now Craig Vine's put together a flyer to let people become aware of the digital ID. So he's asking for your help here.
Guys, we're in shit, man. We're in deep shit. Digital ID. It's coming across every country now. Pretty obvious. You've only got to look online at all the posts and stuff that are happening. I guess you could say some of it's bullshit, but the majority of it you can tell it's real. I just see a desperate government trying to push an agenda that they've been trying to push for ages, but they know that the people are waking up. So that's why they're pushing it harder than ever. We got to do something. We have to move now. We're in a desperate situation. We're in the shit. I've got this. It's probably coming up back to front, but I will read it out to you. I've got piles of them like this. It's obviously a smaller version in black and white, right? So again, it's come up back to front, but I can't do anything about that. I'll just show you what I've got. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 batches of them. So I'll show you my pile. So that's how much I've got, right? They can be handed out anywhere and everywhere to everybody, anyone, anytime. We all need to start making a move right now. As I said, we're in the shit. We need to do something.
All right, get a hold of Craig, get some of those and get them out to everyone.
Yeah, go and follow him and share his stuff, guys. All right, he is the BP down here, the silent achiever. All right, remember the BP, the silent achiever? Right, that's what Craig is. And I can see he's trying to make a head start for Movember there. All right, so I'll just mention something there, guys. I might have to crack in on this Movember this year because I reckon I could go all right, but I've never done it. And the reason I've never done it, guys, is because, again, if you look into these organisations, great ideas, great this, great that, okay, but they are 80% top heavy. 80% of the money raised doesn't go where it's meant to go, guys, all right? And I would say that, you get into Movember, get into the swing of things, but, maybe you could do something better with your money if a group of you got together and put in whatever it was that you're going to give to the Movember thing and actually put it into your community, where it's doing something for somebody or something. Anyway, just my thoughts on that, guys. Because a lot of these things that are run by the government, okay, they are money laundering frauds, guys. Okay, the intention's good, and I'm not saying that. All right, but the problem is, as always, the fucking top end is government run. Okay, government induced. Thank you.
Now, you were just talking about the banks. In the UK, what's happened is the British banks have started to list your purchases and they're correlating it with carbon value, so CO2 consumption. And they're, of course, of doing this so that down the track, they can say, oh, well, you've used up all your carbon credits now, so we're going to turn off your bank account so we can save the world.
I saw a sandwich. They got it labelled over there now, Caz. This sandwich is so many carbon credits. You know what I mean? Like they've actually got it on the food over there in the UK now. Like insane.
It is insane. Look, the housing crisis continues to get worse in Australia. Have a look at this. Unbelievable. And also, what's really good now, I've cut this down heaps, guys. The full clip's available on the website, but Wayne Glue has put out a very good detailed analysis of really who are the sovereign citizens, and this is just a bit of it.
I'd like to compliment our little friend, Dodgy Roger, for his nice explanation in relation to who are the sovereign citizens. You said it perfectly. You disobey the law. You think you're above the law. You shouldn't have guns because you're not even authorised to carry them. You take them off normal people, and you want everybody to do what you want because you're a little dictator. You know.
Mr. Glue, very, very well-informed man, and I could say, yeah, if you want to learn about constitutional issues, there's him, there's Tim Dwyer, there's a few people out there, guys, that are worth looking at what they do and what they say because they're correct. All right, they are correct.
Now, Punters Politics has done a bit of a take on this. This is a long clip. We're only going to play a bit of it, guys, but you'll get the... I know Punters Politics is only... I've got to stop him at one point to recorrect him. But anyway, have a listen to this.
Okay, here's the clip. Let's watch it.
Australian Parliament Sports Club is a listed lobbying organisation.
Pennywell, Sports Club. It's called a sports club. Keep that in mind, punters.
And lists as one of its clients, among many others, Responsible Wagering Australia.
Gambling lobby group. Thank you. I'll just call out too if Pennywell can.
I think 6 of the biggest betting companies. And the PM is the president. So he's essentially the president of a lobbying firm that lists Responsible Wagering Australia, Pfizer, Diageo, a bunch of others. So in terms of the code of conduct, is a Prime Minister allowed to be the president of a lobbying firm?
Is he allowed? Who cares? Should he be allowed? No bloody way. What the hell?
No, he's incorrect. Okay, he's incorrect. The code of conduct is really strict, according to each state, okay?
Now, I know you want to get a grab up, but...
Oh, good political manoeuvre. Bit of gaslighting. I know you're just a bit of an attention seeker and you're just doing this for attention. There's nothing untoward here.
Know that the Parliamentary Sports Club is a lobbying firm. Now, it might know in the way...
It's not a lobbying firm in the way, no, continue.
That you are asserting.
This is not about a grab.
It's a Parliamentary Sports Club.
Yeah, use the name. The name, it doesn't say it's a lobbying firm. It says sports club. It's on the tin. Don't read the ingredients.
It's a registered lobbying organisation.
And it may be required under the code of conduct or whatever the code of lobbying. What's it?
It may be required because it's representing corporate firms and gambling. Yeah, technically, but it's called a sports club.
Of lobbyists to register. I accept that. Yeah. And you've got information which shows that. But I think to assert that somehow this is a commercial lobbying company in the way that people understand, where someone pays you to try and lobby Senator Cash or Senator Wong about
That's not my assertion.
Well, then, I think
good little straw man, Penny Wong. These is pro-level political manoeuvres. First, the tut-tut belittling, it's a sports club. And then with the straw man, you saying Anthony Albanese is directly a lobbyist? Oh, that's wrong. He's like, no.
Is that what you were doing when you made that assertion?
Yes, it's a parliamentary sports.
Thank you.
And Responsible Wagering Australia.
You're probably a member.
Pay the Parliamentary Sports Club for access, which seems like a lobbying organisation to me. And you kind of got to ask questions where we're 2 years after the Murphy Review and your government hasn't even responded to Peter Murphy's work.
Now, before we go to the jury, you punts out there in the comments below, let's just take a look. Who's politician David Pocock? I see him pop up every now and then. Here's a quick refresher on who this bloke is.
Look, we'll just leave it there. The full clip's available, but it's really interesting I know that he was partying with them, Franco, but but when he does something, we've still got to give him his credit for when he's done something that's correct. If this ends up being true, this is just they just don't. They blatantly care. They don't even care that they're getting caught out.
No, they don't. No, they're at a stage where they got that much distraction going on that wouldn't even get to the normal people, mate. You know, because it won't be covered. It'll only be on the internet.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've seen it on the mainstream. I haven't been catching up lately, obviously, because I've been turning the Wi-Fi off, guys. So, but yeah, normally, you know, these things will be on there, but I don't think they are. So I don't think a lot of people are actually knowing about that. There's a lot of stuff they got to try and keep hidden from the general public, because the general public is saying, you know, you smell too much bullshit, and well, you know, if it looks like dog shit, it smells like dog shit, you know. You bend over and get a bit on your finger and put it in your mouth and it tastes like dog shit. Well, it's obviously dog shit, you know. And this is what people are waking up to. I think they're starting to smell dog shit from the front porch all the way out to the fucking front driveway, where the government takes over your life, which they want to now take over within that boundary and take over your life. You know, a washing machine the other day, guys, all right, on a clip, and it had put out something like 3 gigabytes of data from a washing machine. What the hell is a washing machine, a smart washing machine, putting out 3.6 gig of data for?
One of the people that's doing an amazing job is is Dr. Joanne Howe, and she's got this breakdown of Emily's List. I know that most of our viewers understand what Emily's List is, but you have to listen all the way through. It is long for this show, which is about 3 minutes, because she's pushed back, and suddenly they've changed their definition of what they are promoting. Have a listen.
Force that's been shaping Australian politics for decades. Most people have never heard of them, but they have been secretly pulling the strings to push the Labor Party to be more pro-abortion for years and years now. Enormously successful. In fact, Tony Abbott has once called them the most powerful faction within the Labor Party, and that's despite the fact that they actually sit outside of the party. None of the Labor premiers today, or Prime Minister indeed, would be there if they didn't have the support of Emily's List. The sole goal of Emily's List is abortion. That is the objective of this organisation. They want more pro-abortion women in the parliament. They want more pro-abortion laws. They are literally about killing babies. That's what they exist for. But recently something strange has begun to happen. Here's the thing. There's actually trouble, it seems, in paradise, because Emily's List is scrubbing its website. In the states where we've been the most active, they have literally vanquished from those sites most of the MPs, most of the Labor MPs. And it could be because these Labor MPs have suddenly had a change of heart and they've realised they're not into killing babies. It could also be that they're just trying to cover up how pro-abortion they are. They know it looks bad. 1 year later, in 1997, in the South Australian election, every single one of their candidates got elected. So the goal of Emily's List is to find pro-abortion women, to give them money, to help them get pre-selection and help them get elected. They get mentoring, they get money. And the goal is to make our parliaments more pro-abortion. They've been enormously successful with this. It's now difficult to be a Labor woman in the party without being part of Emily's List. But Emily's List became so powerful that over time it far overtook this, and the entire party has been moved to the left and been moved to become pro-abortion. They're so controlling that we actually don't get much of a peek behind the curtain. We don't really know what's fully going on and the level of intimidation. But every now and again, certain stories emerge. And one of those was from Christina Keneally, who actually decided, and kudos to her, she's a former New South Wales Premier for the Labor Party. She wrote an opinion piece in The Guardian calling out Emily's List. And she said, on the issue of abortion, however, Emily's List only supports women candidates who agree to always support a pro-choice position. Never mind that this is a matter on which the Labor Party accords its members a conscience vote. Emily's List makes it a mandatory litmus test. Fail their test on how women should use their ovaries, and you fail to get Emily's List support. Now, the thing is this, Emily's List claims to be about supporting women in parliament, therefore affirmative action. But as Christina Keneally makes so abundantly clear here, the only women who get to be part of their affirmative action, who benefit from what they've managed to achieve to force the Labor Party to have women in winnable seats, that's the affirmative action mechanism that they've got. The only women that benefit from them are those that agree with their dogma that abortion up to birth is a good thing that we should be fighting for, that every abortion is a valid abortion. These people are so aggressively pro-abortion, and she lays it out here because, you know, since this article, Emily's List, it's changed its website. They've kind of moderated their position so it doesn't look like they're all about abortion. In 1996, when they started, this was all about abortion. It was all about pro-abortion women. after Keneally wrote this, they changed their website, so it makes it look like they're into things like, equal pay and maternity leave. They kind of had to sort of moderate how it looked because it looked so bad.
Good. I'm glad they had to moderate it because it looks so bad, because that's exactly what it is. It's absolutely, and Emily's List, guys, we don't talk about much of this stuff on here, but, most of you people are pretty well educated on what's going on out there, and it's a big club, and you got to be part of the right club, right, to get in the right places. Well, they call it the right places. You and I would be calling it evil places, that we want nothing to do with. What we like to do is stop the rot, sack the lot, and replace it with a Christian outlook and a pro-life outlook. And that's what all of us want, guys. But this is what we're up against, all right? And Emily's List is just the female version of the Freemasons.
Well, the thing is that when her pushing back have made them, this is how you change it. It takes a long time when you've got a boat going in a direction to turn it around. You know that more than me. But the thing is that we are turning the tide here. Somebody who's turning the tide really quickly at the moment is Mr. T-Man. And here he is to Mr. Rudd. I'm sorry, I know everyone's seen it, but we've got to look at it again. It's beautiful.
Go ahead. There's been concern in Australia that it's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with the stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't know. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead. No, you went. Go ahead, behind you.
Mr. President, your Secretary of
What an absolute embarrassment of a clown he is.
Oh, but it's just beautiful. Interestingly enough, Mark Latham put this out today. Now, you can see the look on Kevin Rudd's face. He's completely unimpressed. And Mark Latham said, don't underestimate Kevin Rudd. He's now on the phone to Laurie Oakes, leaking against Trump, saying to himself, if I could bring down Julia Gillard for humiliating me, even after all the misogyny speech BS, imagine what I'll do to the fat old orange Kent who sat across the table from me. Very interesting indeed.
Oh,
all right.
Mate. We've just been made look like absolute idiots, mate. Yeah.
We have, but one of the good things about it is that we always know how to laugh. And whoever's put this out, kudos to you. I love this meme. It's so sad that it's so funny.
Capital, Melbourne, and everyone's getting into the latest sports craze. Shopping centre macheteing, brought to you by Westfield, where we chop more than the prices. Today, regional champion Zumba McSlicey from Frankston is competing against Bulby Big Knife from St Kilda. Prize, a bag of watches from Michael Hill Jeweller. Wow, great slice from McSlicey. Let's see that again on his iPhone action replay. Oh, here come the popo, as you can see on the skincare cam, brought to you by Chemist Warehouse.
Yeah, it's absolutely pathetic what they've done to this country. Melbourne is just like, people are scared, in Melbourne, dead set scared, mate, to go out. It's just incredible. What do you do?
Yeah, no, I know. But look, the thing is that there's tide is turning now. In Ireland, you've got this terrible story, and people are out in the streets, and they are really livid.
News of a 10-year-old girl being raped in Dublin, Ireland by an African migrant, of course, apparently on the grounds of city centre there in Dublin. And the protests are already kicking off. This has just happened today. I'm talking offline with a lot of people, and a lot of folks are telling me that this may be the one to kick it off in Ireland. So I don't know, with everything going on and from Scotland, Wales, England, now Ireland, with these migrants just raping and pillaging their way through the United Kingdom and Ireland and Northern Ireland and all these different places, it's a pressure cooker, and it was bound to pop off at some point. So
now, the rest of the story of that girl is, they're just saying sexual assault. They haven't actually said rape. That place was right across the road from a primary school. And like, it just beggars belief. What had happened was no one wanted to house them, so the government bought a hotel and converted it into a processing centre. So they're wall to wall with military age men that have never experienced Western culture, and when they come here, they basically just go crazy. So it's just it's obviously just a nightmare ready to happen.
Now they got robo dogs protecting the immigrants in the hostels over there, Caz. Robo dogs.
Well,
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but also what it's done is it's actually called, this is GB News, guys. This is not just anyone. Great Britain News is actually calling for deportations.
Like there is an organised takeover of our political system underway by sectarians.
Every second I'm wearing it, that is my jihad. And if I'm outspoken for it, then I could be part of this struggle against Islamophobia.
This isn't just about sectarians living and residing, mostly unassimilated, by the way, in our country, but it's about their seemingly ever emboldened and unabashed takeover of our political system.
You will only truly get real power if we just have more Pakistanis sitting in council chambers and parliaments, but actually having more Pakistanis and South Asians sitting in the corridors of power making the decisions. And that's where I'll end tonight, is to say the change is coming.
What change might that be, eh? Well, sectarians seem to care so little for the issues plaguing this country. In fact, it seems they only seem to exclusively care about issues facing the countries they or their parents came from.
I shared on social media the work I and colleagues across the two houses have been doing to urge the government of Pakistan to build an international airport at Mirpur.
If that wasn't enough, of course, it was deemed perfectly acceptable by them to raise foreign flags over buildings owned by and paid for by British taxpayers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is a privilege and I welcome you all to the flag raising ceremony in Pakistan Day.
Of course, that's Birmingham City Council there, who we know hate seeing the Union Jack and St George's Cross being flown across their city. But when it comes to the foreign flags used to, I think, stoke division and, in many cases, anti-Semitism being taken down, they are furious about it.
Labour want to remove...
Look, we'll leave it there, but he goes on to summarise it and basically lay it all out about how bad things are over there. And
well, we got Muslim mayors, Caz, in 18 different counties. It's incredible, mate.
Well, that's it, so it's just like, but look, the thing is that we're having wins because the people are starting to awaken and they're starting to activate. And one of the groups of people who have been so persecuted over the last few years are the J6s. They are launching massive lawsuits, 250 million, I think it is. Have a listen to this.
Washington, D.C. establishment, the entire ABC, MSNBC, they tried to gaslight the American people and lie to our faces. Christopher Wray, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. He went in front of congressional testimony and said that he knew nothing about any type of undercover FBI agents. They let us rot away in solitary confinement in the depths of the D.C. jail without visiting our family for 18 months. They didn't give us a shave or haircut for 18 months. They held us under false pretenses for years while they set up an operation to paint Donald Trump a domestic terrorist and to paint all of his supporters as some type of wild extremist. Meanwhile, they were inside the crowd agitating, orchestrating, and destroying what was a peaceful protest, and they turned it into a complete free-for-all, us fending for our lives. They killed 4 unarmed American patriots that day. Ashley Babbitt, Roseanne Boylan, Kevin Greason, and Benjamin Phillips. The FBI set up, murdered these Americans, and no one has answered for any justice. Christopher Wray, we're coming for you. You're going to see an indictment soon. President Trump has just tweeted about you, lying to Congress. You will see a federal indictment coming soon, sir. And guess what? Read the messages I left you in the D.C. jail walls. You deserve it. Sleep well on that metal mattress.
So I think it's about $250 million they're selling for them, or they're suing them for. So, which is amazing. And another bit of interesting information has been discovered by Dinesh D'Souza as well. And he's talking about there's always special interest groups. Everyone goes on about the Jewish lobby, and it is a big lobby group. But there's always special interest groups. And Dinesh talks about the funding of the trans movement by the Chinese, basically, people. Have a listen to this.
A lot of Antifa is funded by billionaires, left-wing billionaires, but also left-wing billionaires from outside the country. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I had Peter Schweitzer on the podcast, and he talked about how two Chinese billionaires, one an American citizen, but living in China, are bankrolling Antifa, are bankrolling the trans issue. And Peter Schweitzer made the point that these are not people who bankroll those agendas in China. They apparently want Chinese culture to be cohesive. They want Chinese culture to stay the way it is, but they want to promote this sort of change, radical reorganization of society, blurring of the distinction between boys and girls, men and women. They want that in the West. And Schweitzer suggested that this could be as part of a Chinese strategy to undermine the West, weaken the West.
Well, it is, because we know that from Zheng Kuo and their 2001 book or paper, the two Chinese generals that talked about how it's basically by using weaponry, any other form of weaponry, to weaken the society. But again, there's pushback happening all the time, and that can be seen as well. So Stephen Moore put this out. So 2 weeks ago, when no one was watching, the UN was ready to impose a $150 billion carbon tax on the US exports. We sounded the alarm. The immediate caught fire, and Trump took action. Now the tax is dead.
Brilliant.
So you have that, and of course there's an amazing story of Ibrahim Traoré, and I think that you sent this over to me, and I didn't even know about this, about him meeting with the International Monetary Fund and claiming the money back. So I wanted to play that.
You won't see this in the mainstream.
The International Monetary Fund headquarters in Washington, D.C. had never hosted a meeting quite like this. On March 18, 2025, representatives from 42 African nations sat across from IMF officials, but unlike every previous meeting in the institution's 80-year history, the Africans weren't there to beg for loans, they were there to collect what was theirs. EMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva had called the emergency meeting after discovering that African nations collectively owed the IMF $280 billion, but had refused to make their quarterly payments. What she didn't know was that Ibrahim Traoré had spent 2 years preparing for this exact moment, gathering evidence that would not just cancel African debt, but destroy the IMF's entire operational model. The trap had been set 6 months earlier when the IMF, desperate to maintain control over African economies, had proposed what they called the Gold Collateral Initiative. The term seemed generous on the surface. African nations could use their gold reserves as collateral for new development loans at favorable rates. What the fine print revealed, however, was that any missed payment would result in automatic forfeiture of the gold to IMF vaults. Ibrahim had read the proposal and smiled. It was exactly what he had predicted they would do. The meeting began with Georgieva's practice speech about mutual cooperation and sustainable development. She wore a designer suit that cost more than most Africans earned in a year, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing as she explained why Africa needed the IMF's guidance. The Gold Collateral Initiative represents a new chapter in Africa-IMF relations, she said, her tone patronizing. By securing loans with your gold reserves, you'll access capital for development while we ensure fiscal responsibility. Ibrahim sat quietly in the front row, flanked by finance ministers from Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, and Kenya. They waited for her to finish her presentation, which included colorful charts showing how Africa would prosper under IMF management. When she finished, Ibrahim stood slowly. At 6'2", he towered over the diminutive Georgieva, but it wasn't his height that commanded the room, it was the folder he placed on the table. Madame Director, he began, his voice calm but carrying an edge that made several IMF officials shift nervously. Before we discuss your proposal, I have a question. How much gold does the IMF currently hold? Georgieva seemed puzzled by the question. Approximately 2,814 metric tons, worth roughly $180 billion at current prices. And where did this gold come from? Ibrahim asked. Member nations' contributions, of course. It's all properly documented. Is it? Ibrahim interrupted, opening his folder. Because I have different documentation. He pulled out a document and projected it on the meeting room screen. Hit was an internal IMF memo from 1971, marked strictly confidential, destroy after reading. Someone had clearly not followed instructions. The memo detailed Operation Golden Leash, a systematic plan to trap developing nations, particularly African countries, into debt cycles that would force them to surrender their gold reserves. The language was explicit. By structuring loans with impossible repayment terms hidden in complex financial language, we can ensure default and legal seizure of collateral gold. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Several African delegates stood up in anger. Georgieva's face went pale. This must be fake, she stammered.
Fake? Ibrahim pulled out more documents.
Here's the 1976 implementation report, 1982 progress review,
1994 expansion proposal, 2008 modernization plan.
And my favorite, the 2019 briefing where you personally, Madam Director, approved Phase 7, the final harvest. The document clearly showed Georgieva's signature on a plan to seize all African gold reserves by 2030 through manufactured debt crises. But Ibrahim was just getting started. Let's discuss specific cases. Ghana, 1983. The IMF provided a $1 billion loan with a floating interest rate tied to a basket of currencies you knew would spike. When Ghana couldn't pay, you took 45 tons of gold. The loan was worth $1 billion. The gold is now worth $3 billion. He continued methodically. Nigeria, 1991. Senegal, 1998.
Zimbabwe, 2003.
Each time the pattern is identical. Impossible loan terms, manufactured default, gold seizure. Over 50 years, the IMF has stolen approximately 1,200 tons of African gold through this scheme. The African delegates were now on their feet, shouting accusations. Security moved to restore order, but Ibrahim raised his hand and...
Yeah, I won't see that on the mainstream media, guys, but that is what's going on in the background.
Yeah, so we know from John Perkins's book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, this is how it was, because they'd send in the jackals. And then the jackals basically, so there were these poor countries, everyone, look, I get that the immigration is an issue, but they've never been allowed to, they refused to allow these countries to develop. They wanted to keep them poor so that they could then flood the West with them to collapse the West. Yep. This was a plan. This has been planned for 50 years. Yeah, they're still their resources. It's just unbelievably immoral. But anyway.
And then they kill people like old mate that was putting the oil line through, or the gas line. Who was it? Anyway, yeah, they just knock them off, guys. Anyway, got a blanket at the moment.
We're being taken out by Cliff Edge and its digital chains. And it's basically, guys, get over and support Craig Vine. Dave, if you want to wrap up and close the show, I'll hit play.
Yeah, well, okay, guys, we got some stuff coming up. We got flyers to go in for tomorrow night on, you know what, these people with the 11th would like to see happen. And we're pretty right on cue with it, guys, all right? What we got to do is respect the 11th of the 11th at 11:11 a.m. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to do on Remembrance Day. All right, but after we've done that, okay, and we don't have the Shrine of Remembrance here in Sydney or anything, all right? They'll be doing that in Melbourne, okay? So, yeah, we need to work out how we're going to respect and what we're going to do about the 11th at 11th at 11 a.m. And from there, continue that day, all right? But we need to remember them first, guys, all right? Because that remembrance is part of why we're there now, all right? Is because they fought for this country, all right? They put their life on the line for this country. You know, we can't even give up a fucking football match. It's just insane. The two eras are just so different. But their memory will walk us through, guys, all right, because we know how tough and how proud and how brave they were, right, to go and fight for this great country. They had to get on a ship and go and do it. Well, now you've come to an age where, guys, stop buying smart stuff. Yeah, we got to have a smartphone, I suppose. But I tell you what, how this guy worked out that his washing machine was sending back 3 gig of data was he was wondering why his Wi-Fi was up and why he was using more Wi-Fi after he got this new washing machine. So then he done a breakdown on who was using his Wi-Fi. 3.6 gig, guys. What data is that washing machine trying to send back to who? using your Wi-Fi, your allowance. Guys, come on. You see where it's going? Well, as I said, my granddad was a rat at Tobruk. A lot of you people out there have people who served, right, and fought for this country. And guys, if we don't stand up and fight for this country again, I'm telling you, they're going to just rip it out of our hands. So let's keep the V8s on the street like you just heard, guys. Let's not go to electric cars. Let's not go to digital, okay? But we've got to get it out there. All right, good night, guys. Thanks, everyone. God bless you.
Clouding every mind, screaming about pandemics every single time. The common cold disguised as something more. We've seen these games before, knocking at our door. In the guise of safety, they tighten the rope. A pandemic plotted, pulling down hope. We're caught in digital chains, under watchful eyes and heavy rains. Control the currency, control the score. Freedom's fate as they want more. Rise against the tide, break through the frame. Fight for tomorrow, don't play their game. Cameras on corners, eyes in disguise. Social credit score, punish and prize. Behave and earn a coin to buy your daily bread. Misstep once and they fill you with dread. Digital ID, your soul's barcode. Freedom traded for their heavy load. We're caught in digital chains, under watchful eyes and heavy rains. Control the currency, control the score. Freedom's fate as they want more. Rise against the tide, break through the frame. Fight for tomorrow, don't play their game. It's a prison born of ones and zeros, a silent war where freedom's the hero. They want obedience, they want control. Steal your dreams, captive your soul. We see through their deceit and lies. Stand up now, we must arise. Don't let them bind you with fear and shame. Their system's flawed, it's just a game. In unity we find the strength to say, this is our world, we'll find our way. Beneath their towers and digital screens, we hold our truth and break the machine. We're tangled in their chains, but our spirit remains. Together we'll rise and make our stand. Reclaim our rights, take back this land. The time is now to break and renew. In this digital world we still